Hello and welcome to the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host James, and I'm joined today by my fellow gamers and co-host Shannon.
Hello, well done, James.
Thanks. They might not have known it was me. You've ruined it. The surprise. Kieron.
Hello, James.
Hello, Kieron and Brodie.
Hello, James. Thank you. I tell you what, you seem exhausted after that intro.
It'd be amazing if the reveal was that it was James W, not James B.
We're working towards it. It's a multi-arc deal. So obviously, apologies to lack of you in this week. He's gone missing. Hopefully, he'll come back just like any stray cat does after a long absence. But he will be back. So I'm filling in, obviously. So yeah, thanks for coming. On the show today, we're going to be discussing a few reviews. Venba by Brodie and Disney Illusion Island from Kieron. The promises of new hardware from two of the big three next year. Don't know if promises is the right word now that I've read it out loud, but we'll go with it. Ubisoft quietly cancelling a sequel to a game that I loved. But don't worry, it's not Prince of Persia Remake. A potential Oblivion remake and two games coming for Nintendo's crown later on this year. But
he's got the gags, he's got the jokes.
So read the monologue.
Yeah.
This is Jimmy Kimmel, not Jimmy W.
Anyway, I would like to start with Kieron. News that I'm sure he's elated about. I just want to say, how are you feeling about Square Enix announcing that they're bringing Final Fantasy XIV to Xbox after so many years? And would you ride a fat chocobo with me in the game?
Yeah, absolutely yes to the second question.
In the game, had to specify.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I'd ride a fat chocobo anywhere.
Did you watch the fan fest at all? Because you are a fan in some way, right?
Sure. Not so much of Final Fantasy XIV. I caught the Cliff's Notes afterwards, but it's cool that it's coming to Xbox. It's another platform I won't end up playing the game on, but I don't know, maybe it'll encourage me to play with some other people. Maybe we can go riding our fat chocobos together with crossplay.
Sounds so dirty.
Why don't you want to play this? Yeah, why don't you want to play this Final Fantasy? Is it because it's like...
Surely it's a time thing.
It's a time thing. It's an MMO. I know that I will want to devote all my time to it when I start playing it. So I've been good in avoiding it so far. I've played maybe like 2 hours tops.
Well done.
I've played more than that. That's nuts. But yeah, it is a big time sink. I agree. But yes, anyway, that was my exciting cold open. Let's move on with our lives, and we'll talk to... So obviously, we have two reviews hit the site last week. One of them was Venba, which Brodie reviewed. I think Kieron's played it too. It's described as a narrative cooking game, which is like two of my favorite things. So, Brodie, I'm sold, but tell everyone else about how Venba goes.
Sorry if there's any outside noise coming in. I think there's possums running around on my fucking roof.
There's nothing else.
Hopefully they attack you at some point in this episode.
I left. That could be the only thing else that could happen in this episode right now. And the door is unlocked, so I am concerned. If they get that worked out, I'm fucked. Yeah, okay. Venba, yeah. You are right. It is a short, sweet narrative cooking game. It did make me hungry multiple times playing it. The food... for a pixel art sort of game, looks beautiful, delicious even. But yeah, it's I would say it touches very much on like, you know, relationships that you have with family, relationships that you have with food. It reminded me structurally a lot of, and I say this in the review, it reminded me of like Florence, which I don't know if anyone remembers Florence. It was a very short vignette sort of game about a girl named Florence and the relationships that she has in her life and that she ultimately gives up for her career, I believe. It's similar to that, but obviously it's probably a bit more gamey in that it frames all these vignettes about, you know, their cultural assimilation and all that sort of stuff through cooking, which Venba has like basically handed down to her from her mother, and she uses her recipes and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a really sweet game. It made me very sad at points. It made me consider my own family and my own son, and it made me sad about the thought that he might not talk to me one day and all this sort of stuff. So it just makes you think. The cooking is very simple. It's very relaxing. It's not exactly like while you do it, I don't think it's the focus of the game so much. Like it's the gamey part of it, but I'd say it's more about the story and the relationships and stuff. So it is only about 70 minutes. So I mean, if you're after a quick, thing to blow through, I recommend it. But I think it is also hard to recommend at the price. Like whereas Florence was only about $1 or $2, I think on iOS. This is, I believe, somewhere just above $20 or something like that. So makes it a bit harder of a sell. But if this is your sort of jam, then yeah, it is. It's quite nice and it's very authentic. Like the presentation's really nice and the music's very, like Indian and South Asian and stuff like that, as you'd expect. So yeah.
Kieron, any thoughts to add on? Any salt to add to the pot?
Yeah, I mean, like, no, everything Brodie said rings pretty true. Like it's weird how, like, even though it's all pixel art, how scrumptious. Why did I use that word? How good the food looks. Like, but like when it's like bubbling away in like the fry pan and stuff. Like I literally like went onto the Uber Eats app after playing the game and like tried to find the dishes that I had like made and like order them for dinner, which was like kind of cool, I guess. I was worried that I wasn't gonna get a lot from it narratively, obviously having like that cultural difference, because it is very heavily obviously about like first and second generation immigrants, but like just the stuff about, like Brodie was saying, just about family in general and the relationships that you form and how food influences those. Like a lot of that stuff is stuff I haven't actually experienced either, and it was cool kind of getting a bit of perspective. So I thought it was really cool. It was like, yeah, it's again, it's short, but definitely worth playing if you're into any of that stuff.
I think like the price is fine if it's like good. Like, do you know? Like, I know that's like an obvious thing to say, but like
it is, and it is.
Do you
good,
know,
so,
to me, like that's like a movie ticket, or like less than a movie ticket, 60, 70 minutes. Like it's kind of the same. And it is like a perspective, I guess, that like a lot of people wouldn't consider regularly. So yeah, it does seem like it's worth my time. I probably better. What platforms is it on? More importantly, is it a Switch?
Good question.
Everything.
I played it on PC. I'm pretty sure it is on Switch.
Good Switch.
Let me research while you move on.
Well.
Yeah. Because I think I could definitely play that on my lunch break on the Switch easily. But while Brodie is confirming, let's move on to Disney Illusion Island. It's no secret that I'm a big Metroidvania fan. I'm a Metroid trisexual. I'll try anything once if it's Metroid. Is this going to scratch my itch, Kieron, for Metroid or no?
Probably not probably not for the reasons I think that you'd play those games. It does have all the same beats as a Metroidvania, but it doesn't really kind of hit those same like targets of making you feel like you're becoming the master of your environment as you go on. It's not really challenging or complex enough for those to come through, and it's quite short as well. It's maybe like 5 or 6 hours. So it definitely, like, if you like that genre and you have like, friends or a partner or kids that don't play those games and you want to play with them, like the co-op experience is great. So I feel like it's a good gateway for people who haven't tried a Metroidvania game or just like Disney and platformers and want to try something different. But in your case, I think it's definitely not got the complexities or the length or the difficulty to really make it feel like that much of a Metroidvania.
With all the different characters, is there any value in trying different ones, or do they all pretty much play the same?
No, they all play identically. Visually, they're different. Like all of their animations are different for the same abilities and actions depending on their character, and they're all kind of like amusingly like handed out by this particular character over the course of the game. And they're very thematic and stuff. So like it's cool to see like how each one looks when they're doing the same things. But yeah, there's no, like, you wouldn't go back and replay the game as someone else, for instance, and get a different experience.
Yeah.
And on the topic of that, bosses and enemy types and stuff. Tell me all about that. I feel like with Disney the Illusion games. Did you play the Illusion games, like the Sega ones and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, is it?
Yeah. See, that was in
boss wise. Is it close to that, or is it very simple?
Not really. Like I feel like I'm being overly negative. It is a good game, but it doesn't have. It's like completely combat free. So there are like enemies in the world, but you just sort of avoid them. You either jump over them, or they'll have like attacks that fly out that you have to sort of navigate as you're going around. But you can't like do anything about them. And the bosses are the same. You can't like directly sort of attack them or anything like that. It's all just using the abilities that you've learned to that point to sort of manipulate the environment around them, which could have been really cool. Aside from one, like most of the bosses aren't overly exciting. Again, just like they're just a bit basic. But like visually the game's great and the bosses are great. Definitely like if you're into Disney stuff, if you're into like the recent like Mickey and Friends series, it's got the same sort of visual style as that. And the cutscenes are like really, really well animated. They've got like the original voice cast and stuff in there. The dialogue is really cool, like the writing's really cool. It's just like, yeah, very, very basic.
Would you recommend it for like families? Like, I don't know if I'm super keen to play it after reading your review, but I'm assuming it's for the little ones and their parents, maybe.
100%, yeah. Like you can turn on like an invincibility mode. You can like if you're playing with someone else, you can like drop ropes from platforms so they don't have to do any of the platforming stuff if you've done it already. It's definitely one of those games where like, you know, if you want to kick back and play something, you've got kids and they just want to like press buttons and be involved, they can do that without really impacting you. And you can kind of introduce them to, I guess, like new game concepts.
Is this game by the Battletoads people?
It is by the Battletoads people.
Yeah, okay. It sounds like it's a
very,
bit lesser
very different,
in scope than that, though. Yeah, sounds obviously different, but yeah, sounds a bit smaller of a game. Did you play Battletoads? Would you say that?
I don't think I ever finished the Battletoads reboot, but I'd say
I can see like
maybe got halfway through
the DNA there, like the animation and the cutscenes and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like I feel like they are quite
Visually,
obviously the tones
definitely.
are very different, but visually, like it is, you can kind of see that DNA there. Yeah, I hope this does
Yeah.
well for them because I do think they're a really good developer. I think they're super underrated.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah, no, there's definitely a really solid audience for it.
Cool. Venba, by the way, on everything. Yep. Switch, PS5, Xbox, Windows.
Oh yeah.
Get on it.
it's only on. Oh, yeah, right. I thought I was like, yeah, no, okay, yes, thank you for that update. I will be playing it on Switch. Anyway, moving on. I might not be playing on my Switch in late 2024 if rumors are to be believed, because there could be a new Switch or a new Nintendo of some sort. So what I thought we'd do for this discussion is there's also been some other rumors about hardware and stuff, and you know, life is so fast moving. I thought we'd just slow down and recap everything that's happened. So in terms of PS5 and Switch. But to start off with, obviously, the latest is that a new Switch has been rumored. Someone reckons there's one coming every 6 months. That's true. But I feel like it's starting to ramp up more than it really does this last few weeks. And a lot of the rumors now are pointing to late 2024. Allegedly. But I think the thing that stuck out here that's kind of been the most contentious point for people is that it will be like like obviously a successor to the Switch in terms of the same concept, but it might not be backwards compatible with physical games, which I think Switch is one of the last, I feel like probably the strongest physical collecting audience of all the three consoles. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I feel like that is a thing with Nintendo people. What are your thoughts? Like, do you think that they, with how much units they've sold, they have to honor this? They should really be letting people bring their library with them, or what?
Yeah.
Anybody go in?
If that is the case, I think, yeah, we all know that sort of Nintendo have kind of gone like one good, one bad in terms of like console generations. Like they tend to find really good success and then they somehow manage to stuff it up, whether it be with naming or just totally changing things. So yeah, I feel like because the Switch is so popular, like you mentioned, and yeah, agreed, like definitely people would own a lot of physical games for it. If there is anything like this, like the eShop isn't compatible, like the virtual console games aren't compatible, like if games aren't compatible, there's going to be confusion and uproar and people are going to be resistant to go over to the new generations. They really need to get those little things right, in my opinion, and they haven't in the past, so all eyes will be on it.
Have to agree. Like if they don't carry over their like all their profile system and that whole online ecosystem that and infrastructure really that they've built up over this generation, like it's going to be baffling to me. That's why I feel like if it is going to be very similar in like form factor and functionality to the Switch, I don't see why they can't keep it much the same. Like, even if it is iterative, like, I don't think that's going to matter too much because the Switch, is a banger already. So, like, it just needs to, up spec and like have a bit of better tech in it. So, in my opinion, at least.
The other rumor that kind of stems from that is I was reading a lot of third parties aren't happy with the backwards compatibility idea, and no one's really given a good reason why. But like in my head, I think, well, you can't resell a game because I feel like, and we'll talk about this later, a lot of games can be reissued and kind of resold again because of nostalgia is so big now. Nostalgia doesn't even need to be 10 years ago now. It's almost 5 years. Like, do we think like that's? I feel like, and then I look at the other side of things and I look at, say, Xbox's kind of strategy where all your old shit works, no questions asked. Like, and that seemed to work well for them. Like, old games are people still buy Black Ops 2 as an example. Like, do you think that third party should be like, I guess, like worried about backwards compatibility on the Switch, or
do you think it's a case of like? Do you think that because Nintendo's first party stuff traditionally does so well that they want that first couple of years to just pump out like whatever they can, re-releases of old games, all that kind of stuff, and not worry about people still just playing Mario Kart 8 and Smash Bros?
I know what you mean, but then like, aren't they always just pumping out games anyway? Like, there's really no point,
What you're saying, Kieron? Because I feel like the entire, like a lot of the Switch generation, like maybe 30 or 40% of it has just been Wii U re-releases. So without that, like they will have to definitely diversify their content offering and franchises. Is that what you're saying? Because I agree. Like without that, like without dropping virtual console games throughout the life of the console, without having those games to double dip back into, like they're really going to have to create some new franchises and look a bit further than what they have been doing, in my opinion. So that will be new for them.
Yeah.
And then the last bit with that. Oh, Brodie, do you have something to say?
No, sorry.
No?
I heard the possums.
What?
They're coming. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to talk about quickly is, which I'm guessing you're to talk about, is release date, potentially, James, release timing being late 2024. And for me, the bummer of that is that I just feel like if this Switch is the one that we've been hearing about for the last 3-4 years, like that was really exciting 3 years ago. But I worry, and we'll talk about this as we move into the topic too, like I feel like tech again has advanced beyond that significantly, which again kind of puts Nintendo, like we know that their games are great and they speak for themselves, like they don't need to be 4K 60, but it does annoy me like when they're releasing these things and they're always feeling like they're a generation behind when they have waited so long to do this. I just kind of wish we were getting the latest and greatest, because like the AI tech for graphics has just been moving so fast over the last year or two. So that maybe they have pushed it out to maybe release something more advanced than what they had planned initially. But yeah, I hope so if we're waiting that long.
How do you feel about LED screen then, not OLED? Because apparently that's been done to cut costs. Mr. Tech Boy.
Tech time with OLEDs are great. And it does, I think we've spoken about this a lot. I know like maybe Kieron and James, you probably don't play your Switch a lot in handheld mode. So like for people like you, it's not going to be a big deal and you would rather just save the money. But like there is a big difference from an OLED screen and a handheld to LED. And going backwards, I think is going to be an issue if it's like at the next gen hardware, you expect for things to be getting better, not worse. But again, Nintendo will be thinking long term and they'll want to be dropping an OLED version of this to get people to double dip. So yeah, I think that's the annoying thing. At least give people the option, right? Like release one with an LED screen that's cheaper or a light or something, and then do the premium version.
But
they won't.
I don't know why they wouldn't just do 2 SKUs. I also had this thought that maybe like for the backwards, maybe their format is changing in terms of their physical format.
Yeah,
like
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, like if I think
bring back the mini discs.
Well, I don't even think that. Just remember DS Lite launched with a Game Boy slot. Yeah, a Game Boy slot and a DS slot. I wonder if that's like something you could do these days, or if it's like worth the money, or even just do it for the first run or something, and then simplify it later, like they did with the other consoles.
It is trickiest for Nintendo because a lot of those gamers don't care about like being next gen or really up to date with graphics. Like they just want to be able to play Mario Kart and whatever else. So I do understand how it's harder for Nintendo to like find a new generation, but somehow like keep those other people engaged and then it not be confusing. Where like PS5 and Xbox, like those first few years of people just wanting the latest and the best, so they'll upgrade. But it's going to be interesting. It's really. I hope we get something in the next like 3 months or 6 months, and we're not still talking about these rumors in a year.
Do you mean like an announcement?
Yeah, like at least this year we are doing this, like so we know that we can talk about it weekly without it leading to nothing. Like we have for the last
I hope
4
we
years.
don't ever have to talk about it again, if I'm being honest, until it's out. Like I didn't even
Let's
want to
not
include
then.
it.
Let's just wait until it's out and then chat.
If I'm hosting, we have to talk about the next Switch. Like we can't not. But we can also talk about the next thing, which that was my smoothest segue ever. Yeah.
James is like putting his arms up his own sleeves like a genie. What is happening?
Because
he's about to pull out a Nintendo Switch 2.
I'm about to grant all your wishes, Brodie. That's why.
Mine?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Shannon's more. Anyway, let's move on to what we're talking about. So the PS5 Pro, I think we talked about it a while ago, and I kind of felt like it was pointless, but it seems to be a thing. If you look around, like the normal PS5 is being giga discounted everywhere. The digital model has been discontinued. Something's definitely happening.
PlayStation's worried.
In the sea of Sony. And obviously a few things have popped up. The latest is that PS5 Pro is a real thing. It's reportedly aiming for a November 2024 release date, and it's codenamed Project Trinity. I just watched Oppenheimer. I don't know how I feel about that name, but I'll move on from that. Apparently, Sony's already holding demo events. There's an 8K performance mode included in the console, accelerated ray tracing, biggest waste of time, but that's fine. Improved frames per second, better FPS stability at 4K resolution. There's two things I don't really know what they mean, and a majority of studios will receive development kits by late November 2023. So, needless to say, we know Mojang won't be getting a development kit for Minecraft, but how does everyone feel about the idea of a PS5, an 8K PS5 Pro? Excited for Last of Us Part 1 in 8K? Shannon?
I am. That's the only bit that I think is ridiculous, but there has been an 8K logo on the PS5 box since day one, so they should make good on that promise. I know you're down on this, James, but I think November 2024 is 4 years, and I feel like I don't know the timing between PS4 and PS4 Pro, but that feels like it was about on track with that. I
think it was less than that, potentially.
Yeah, 3 years maybe.
I just feel like...
Yeah.
Oh, no go.
No, it's not necessary. Like, I don't need it. But again, like, NVIDIA's dropping new GPUs yearly. So, like, the technology's there. I don't hate it. I don't mind it. Like, if it does deliver on, like, 4K 60, we've spoken about how it's one or the other. Again, yeah, it's not necessary. And, like, the games haven't really been there in a next-gen sense yet, except for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, in my opinion. Yeah. I like tech. I'm keen for it. Release a new one every year.
Yeah, I will obviously get one day one. I don't like missing out. I guess my thing was more stemming from, I just feel like first party, especially like Sony hasn't really put out a PS5 game really. Like I know Spider-Man 2 will be here in a few months, and Returnal happened, but that's that's honestly it, that's really it. Two. Like No, I'm saying like obviously God of War, Horizon, all that kind of thing. But like even those games I feel didn't really do as much as they could, say, by just dropping PS4. And I've always said like I feel like this gen has really been, to me, has been really supported well by the third parties, more so than anybody else. That's the only reason I'm like, maybe get the games right before we just do more hardware. But I do recognize that there is a need for speed. Yeah. Yeah. PS5 Pro, Kieron, does that wet your whistle?
Yeah, I mean, for me it does, because I mostly play on my PlayStation, and I want better graphics, I want better frame rates, I want all those things. Like there's games like Jedi Survivor that I wish were like more playable, and maybe now they will be. So like, yeah, I'm all for it.
Cool. Do we think Xbox is cooking up the Series Y or X, Y, Z? or something?
I think so, because it's likely that like the tech will be on par for both of them, which it pretty much is in both consoles. And that's what could it be as well. Like they're dictated to by AMD and other tech manufacturers. So like it reaches a point for anyone except Nintendo where you get pushed into just moving to new things for cost cutting or process changes. So I definitely think we'll see both. I'll be shocked if not. Maybe not, no, both in the same month, but like within a 3 to 6 month range for sure.
To only further obfuscate the situation, James, apparently MTS is mega transfers per second.
Thank you.
So
I was
18,000 of them.
yeah.
That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it?
I just know
Ratchet and Clank 2, get it up, me.
No one will care. Yes, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait for that. Speaking of, I can't wait for. This game's never coming out, so I won't ever have to wait for it.
Oh my god!
Ubisoft has apparently quietly cancelled a sequel to Immortals Fenyx Rising, one of my favorite games of whatever year it came out, citing perceived challenges around establishing the IP in line with its current strategy of focusing efforts on the most recognizable and marketable properties. So you can tell a human being wrote that sentence, can't you? So the rumor was, I guess, and this I've heard this before. I don't know if you guys have or not, but like it was like a Polynesian set Immortals game. So like they're going to take that concept and move it to like another location. But do we think that like Immortals would be hard to market now? Like I don't think the first one set the world on fire, but I can't really remember. Like I feel like I experienced it in a vacuum. Yeah. Thoughts, feelings, comments.
Do you think
please.
that like I don't know how recent this decision was, but do you think that like because people spent so much time comparing the last one to Breath of the Wild that people like they were worried people would start comparing this to Tears of the Kingdom, even though they're probably completely unrelated, but just like in that sequence?
That was honestly what I was going to say. I just wanted to let someone else speak. But
Thank you.
But I agree. Like I feel like the first Immortals was so much like Breath of the Wild, and it really fit that niche because Nintendo wasn't doing anything for like, obviously they were making the game, but you know what I mean? There was no like games that kind of fit that hole for so long. So like and I think that like this would have done really well. So it's disappointing to hear that it's been cancelled. But there's so many times we have these games that Ubisoft makes and we're like what, like Roller Champions and
But yeah, this was like the shining light of new IP. Like it felt like a Ubisoft game, but it felt
the
different.
shining light. Very, that's so dramatic.
I
think I like it.
I don't know.
Like I don't know anyone like it was $15 a month after it came out. I don't know if that's a shining light.
It was received
you probably
well.
gave it a 9 or a 10.
I gave it a 9. I thought it was funny and witty and fun.
So
and
wouldn't you say it was a shining light? I might go and read your review and see if you said that. I feel like you would.
I don't think I've ever used the term shining light, if I'm being honest. But who knows? Anything's possible.
I was literally sat at like Summer Game Fest not 2-3 months ago, and we were trying to decipher what the new Ubisoft game would be before they announced it, and I actually thought it was going to be Immortals 2. So I'm genuinely surprised that this was I guess in some form of pre-pro, but then has now since got cancelled. So because I thought the first one was great, like I feel like it was received better critically than it was commercially, but yeah, it's a little bit sad. Like it's sad to see a new IP that had promise just die like that.
Yeah. It is sad. You could see why, like, next to Assassin's Creed, even if there's 5 of them on the go, like, all of them would outsell Immortals. Like, and that's the sad reality that we live in. But yeah, Ubisoft has taken an interesting turn, I feel.
Very interesting.
The light is gone, if you will.
Yeah, the shining light has definitely
snuffed out, extinguished.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of light, I don't know how, but I just thought I'd bring it up. An Oblivion remake could be on the way. That's exciting for some people. So in a sketchy and yet apparently validated post on Reddit, an employee of Virtuous Games, who obviously they make a lot of remakes for people, has leaked that an Oblivion remake is in development. It's being built on Unreal Engine 5 on top of the original code or something, with the release date for, I think, I didn't read it properly, but I feel like it's 2024 or 2025. I guess like to me, I don't know. Like to me, I feel like everybody talks about Morrowind as the big Elder Scrolls old game. Do you guys agree or not? Or like, do you feel that? No, Kieran's shaking his head. Kieran's like the first
Like,
person who doesn't like Morrowind.
I think in terms of
course.
setting, Morrowind is definitely cool, but it has aged like milk. It's so shit to play.
But that's what I was
Oblivion
saying.
was like the
isn't that
first
perfect?
mainstreamy.
That's the one that
Yeah.
all like my weird sweaty friends in primary and high school like were playing. Like it's...
I remember everyone was so wowed by the physics in Oblivion that I remember I went to a friend's house one day and he'd been sat there for 4 hours building a brick wall with individual bricks. Like he went and collected them all. Like he was making a wall, and I was like, "That's cool." I
There's
guess.
just like so much to unpack there as well.
Yeah.
Not to do with the
yeah,
game.
he
I
was
feel.
probably on some kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I think this is cool, but I also think this is kind of shitty for the community team that are making Sky Oblivion, which I think is like a fan project. That's pretty much what this promises to be. So
Shouldn't they have hurried
it's a
up?
shame for them. Yeah, maybe they
How
should have
long-
got a shuffle
I
on.
feel like I've been
It's their own
hearing about
fault.
that. No, yeah,
They're their
actually.
own worst enemy.
I guess they're doing it for free, right?
It's probably 3 fucking people slaving their guts out.
Yeah.
And James
yeah.
says, "Fuck you."
I agree. I know what you mean. That must be like the most, like, because I do feel like how long does anybody know how long Sky Oblivion's in the work? I feel
No.
like I've been hearing about it for years.
But it'd be like if the Black Mesa team got like right toward the end of remaking Half-Life 1 and then Valve were like, you know what, we're putting out Half-Life 1 again. You'd be like, shit, why have we wasted 7 years of our lives? So,
do we have nostalgia for Oblivion?
A little bit, yeah.
It was my first Elder Scrolls. Like,
Is that the one with Mehrunes Dagon or whatever his name is, and he's like the big red devil at the end?
is
I
that
don't know.
Terrence Stamp's character? I think he's in it. That's all I
Terrence
remember.
Stamp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's
a
what
touchstone.
when I heard it, I was like, is this Bernadette? No,
That's Bernadette.
this is an Australian.
Ralph.
This is the most. Yeah, Ralph. Yeah.
I think given the next Elder Scrolls is like probably what, like 7, 8, 9 years away, I reckon, after this year. Like I think they're gonna have to fill it with a remake or two of some of their older games. So yes, I think it would be a good decision to make it.
Do we feel remakes are becoming too much?
Not if they keep being good.
Mm.
Like if they keep
The Last
hitting,
of Us
like
Part 1.
Dead Space hit, Last of Us Part 1 hit, Resident Evil
what?
4 hit. So, I mean, as long as they keep hitting, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, okay. I just see so many comments now on everything we post. It's like,
I mean, it's
so sick of
sad
it, and I
that that's
get it.
where we're at creatively, but everywhere's the same. Hollywood's the same. So, it is what it is.
Nostalgia
as
is
long
deep,
as we
baby.
haven't hit
Keep
Disney
shitting
remake
out what
levels,
makes money.
we good. Because they're all awful.
They've really gone off the rails, haven't they?
They have. Like, ugh.
Even
Anyway.
Marvel. Absolute gack at the minute.
Secret Invasion.
Oh.
Like, secret
Secret piece of shit.
avoidance.
Anyway.
It's not a secret, but it's so bad. This is what anyway.
Obvious. invasion.
Anyway, I thought I'd be really nice and give Shannon his own topic. He really wanted to talk about these two games, so let's move on. So Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 has been announced, and it will be debuting at EVO, which is like pretty big boy for them, I reckon. And DreamWorks Kart Racer has also been announced. Shannon, take it away.
Yeah, I just found it interesting that there's these huge saturation of kart racing games, fighting games. Sakurai is shaking, not knowing what to do next because of these games that are hitting shelves. Like, I think it's cool. I think anytime Shrek is on a cover of a game, I'm here for it. And Nick All-Stars Brawl, I don't think I played the original, but there's only ways to go.
I think it's
up,
probably
isn't
worth
there?
mentioning, like, Nick All-Stars Brawl came out and it was pretty average, and it was really quiet. Like, it was like
It had no voice acting, right? Like that
there
was
was
the
no
one that
voice work. It was like a silent birth, but like fighting. And then like basically they patched in all the voice work afterwards. And like I think they obviously found an audience and found money to make another one. But I just don't see like this. I don't know. Because like obviously Sakurai also put out a video this week. I don't know if it was like the same time on purpose or not, but saying that he can't see anyone making a Smash Bros game without him, because he has been the face or director of Smash Bros for like since the beginning. But do you think that these games will ever topple Smash Bros? Do you think that's their intention or anything like that? Because these brands are quite big. I feel like Nickelodeon especially.
And yet they never will.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's my thing.
Yeah, never.
We've seen some like decent kart races throughout time, but like still Mario Kart is just untouchable. And I don't
just
really
think,
know
like,
why that is when you think about it.
when you think about like how good, say, Shrek movies did at the movies and like all
Yeah.
of those DreamWorks properties, why doesn't that cross over into games for this kind of thing? Do you think it's? I think it at the end of the day it probably just comes down to the quality. Like I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not as good as Mario Kart.
It must do well to a certain extent because we're seeing so many of them. Like we're seeing like 2 or 3 a year in terms of fighters and like kart races now that are branded and or licensed. So they must be doing well enough to the point that they keep making them. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know why they're not good. Like PlayStation couldn't even do it. And they make lots of good games.
Are DreamWorks and Nickelodeon related at all? Like, are they owned by a parent company or something? Because isn't the DreamWorks kart racer people the same people who did the Nickelodeon kart racer game?
I feel like it's the
Yes.
same publisher, right? The Game Mill.
I think
Maybe
so.
that's
So they're
it.
all just
I thought-
reskinned the same
thought it was
game,
the same dev.
essentially.
Probably. Yeah. Look, I thought I was done with Shrek, but he keeps finding a way to come back into my life, and I'm not for it. I'm
I
not
guess
here
they come
for
out
it.
every year. They probably just don't. Yeah, I think Shannon, you're probably right. They probably are reskinned. But Game Mill, if you're listening, you got to spend money to make money. So put the effort in. Not that you're not putting enough effort in now. Take a break and put in some more effort.
How's that for
Work
mixed
smarter.
messaging?
Work smarter, not harder. So I feel like we've dragged this on long enough, especially that last topic. So we'll move on to the rapid fire question, which is a bit of a weird one, but let's go with it anyway. So this week, I think, or last week, never, Hasbro has basically come out and said they want Activision to revive their Transformers games on Game Pass if the Activision deal were to go through. But I would like to pivot to the success of Barbie and ask you all, what Mattel or Hasbro property would you like to see adapted or brought back in video game form? I'll start with Brodie because I know he's prepped.
Yeah. I am going to say, it's an obvious answer, low-hanging fruit for me, and there have been games, but they've all been shit. So I would like to see a good Power Rangers game. Thank you. This has been my TED Talk.
The SNES one was good.
It was.
Yeah, I
Oh,
played
pretty-
one of them
pretty
a
much-
lot. Was it the SNES one?
Pretty much all the ones on the SNES were fucking good. Like, you've got the side-scrolling brawler one, which was good. Then there was one based on the movie that was the same. And then they had, like, one called Hyper... No, it wasn't Hyper Fighting. That's Street Fighter. But there was a fighting game as well that was fucking pretty good.
Yes,
Anyway.
that was meant to be good. I just never got to play it. But
Yeah. Ninja Megazord for the win. Anyway, please go on.
yeah, Shannon, Kieron.
Shannon's Googling Hasbro and Mattel.
Yeah,
properties.
literally. I was a big Barney fan, so I'm going to say Barney in some kind of horror stealth.
Like the Winnie the Pooh movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Like the
Five
Winnie the
Nights
Pooh
at
movie, but in
Freddy's.
game.
I think there is an A24 Barney movie coming, like with Daniel
Is that right?
Kaluuya from
He's
memory.
scary. Just looking at that face now, like how were we not terrified as children?
Daniel
Barney or
Kaluuya.
Daniel?
All of them.
I just called him Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah,
What is it? Kaluuya.
Kaluuya, isn't it?
Yeah, I
The guy
don't
from
know.
Get Out.
I pronounce it like a fucking liqueur.
Like a coffee look. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Please.
Wow.
Kieran,
Kieran.
go.
I want to say Beyblade. Beyblade's Hasbro, right?
Look,
Maybe.
I don't know,
I-
but we'll
no,
go
I have
with
to-
it.
no,
It
I have
may
to
as well
confirm
be.
that. It can be.
And that's
I want
that's
to
got,
see
like-
them.
Beyblade is cool in concept.
remember the
Yeah.
DS ones? They
I wanna-
came with the Beyblade.
Yeah, I want to see more of that shit. Like a VR/AR like Beyblade esport where like, you know, it's just like two people with their little plastic toys in an arena, and then they like superimpose like the fucking dragons and shit on
Yeah,
top
like a
of it. I wanna see
Pokemon
that
Go
stuff.
Beyblade sort of thing.
Yeah,
Or something that,
yeah,
that
like
would
that.
be hot. Let's get Hasbro on the phone.
What about
They're
a
already listening.
WWE toy wrestling game? I feel like that's existed as well. Or they had like toy
WWE
skins or something.
I think you're outside of the brief there, but we'll listen.
There was a
It's
John
on
Cena
It's on
one,
the
right?
Mattel. Yeah, there was a John Cena toy skin, I think. But
That was in WWE 23, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Thank you.
Like a toy soldiers sort of thing, but like for wrestling toys.
I just think I need to make like Uno, but Fortnite. I'm just gonna leave us with that.
Like Uno 100.
Like draw 4, and then like you hear a gunshot and you're dead. Like I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap this up. I think I've well past my expiry date. Let's wrap it up like we do every other episode with an episode of of What the Wiki. What the Wiki is the Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and the contestants must guess the game. The point is awarded for each correct guess, and the round ends after one person scores 2 points. Leading at the moment is Brodie on 22 points, then myself on 18, and then in a hot 3-way, Stu and Shannon and Kieron on 16
Why did you look
points.
over your shoulder?
I
Who was going to tell you off?
Just want to make sure nobody was listening. No, I was actually just looking around for like an object to refer to. But anyway, and then below them, a long way below them, is Harry on 1 point, and then friend of the show James W on 0 at the very bottom, or nil point. Sorry, I broke tradition. But anyway, as last week's winner, Brodie, you were in the hosting chair, so it's time to take it away.
Thank you. I shall.
Be our
All
shining
right.
light.
Welcome.
Yes, I will do my best.
No
Okay.
more shining lights.
The first game is a party video game featuring 8 playable characters with differing powers and skills. The gameplay consists of 28 different minigames divided into 7 categories, with multiple variations each. The categories consist of ballistics, in which players pilot hovercraft to deflect steel balls away from the goal, polar push, in which players riding polar bear cubs must knock opponents off an icy arena. Shannon.
Crash Bash.
It is Crash Bash.
Damn it! I knew
Well
it.
done, Shane Cake.
I think I'm on a delay again.
Okay.
Good.
You are coming through clear as a bell.
Shut up.
Okay. Shannon, 1 point. Moving on. The game was originally released in Japan under this name. It's a 1993 action role-playing game developed and published by Square for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It is a sequel to a 1991 game called Seiken Densetsu, released in North America as... I'm not going to say that. Moving on. Set in a high fantasy universe, the game follows 3 heroes as they attempt to prevent an empire from conquering the world with the power of an ancient flying fortress. Pretty much every JRPG that has ever existed. Kieron.
No, I fucked that up. I don't know it. Let's go.
You can opt out. Oh.
Let's just say Secret of Mana. I'm on a massive delay. Again.
It is Secret of Mana. You're doing quite well. Wait for him to get excited. That's not that big of a delay. You're lying.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. 1 point each.
The selective delay seems to be.
Yeah.
I fear.
1 point each for Shannon and Kieron. James, come on. Need you to fire up here.
Yeah, well.
All right.
Pick some
Which of
better
these 2 games shall I pick? Okay. Okay. Similar in gameplay to rhythm games like Guitar Hero and Wii Music, players are tasked with timing their input to music note prompts as they appear on screen, with greater accuracy yielding more points and a higher score. The debut indie title reached widespread popularity on Steam and became an internet meme. It was nominated for the British Academy Games Award for debut game,
Kieron.
as well as the... Kieron.
Is it? I'm gonna get. Is it Trombone Hero? Is that the name?
It's not the name.
James.
What is?
James.
That's what I was going to say
No.
too, but I don't know what the name is.
No, I'm wrong. I got
You might not be.
Beat Saber.
Oh, no. I mean,
Yeah.
Kieron was on the right path.
Yeah.
But it was just not the right title.
What is the...
Shall I read some more?
Everyone else feel better.
We all know what the game is, but I'll read more until someone else wants to jump in. The game is a rhythm game in which the players use a virtual trombone to play along to various songs, ranging from classical music to public domain songs, to original tracks and remixes. Players move the mouse to change the pitch of the trombone and use either the mouse button or keyboards to play. We know the game, don't we?
Is it 2 words?
I don't.
Why?
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
I was going to say that too. So
This is like the slowest loss ever. Hurry it up.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I don't know how to help other than we just call it void and move on to another game.
Go on.
I'd
Just
be keen
keep
on
going.
Keep going or move on?
Yeah.
Move on?
Move on.
Sorry, that wasn't a yes or no question.
Kieron, for fuck's sake. Okay. I'm calling this a void round.
Is the last
No
question?
one-
Is the last game something that all of us could get?
I think so.
Okay, let's.
I hope James doesn't get it now
What
because
is
I
the
will then
name?
have to find another game. That game was called Trombone Champ.
Oh, that's it.
I was going to say like trombone.
Oh, he is on a little bit of a delay.
Tromboner.
Through his head. Tromboner Champ. Okay. The last game, maybe, unless James gets it and then I'm fucked, and then you'll have to talk and vamp for a minute. Okay.
I can do that.
The game is a 2011 first-person shooter video game for the PlayStation 3. It is the fourth installment in a series, the first game in the series to be presented in stereoscopic 3D.
James.
And the first... Is that James?
It is. Oh, fuck, it could be
I
one
was
of
muted.
two things.
Go,
Oh,
James.
that's your fault.
Oh, that's... Fuck. Is it Resistance 3?
Shannon.
It is not Resistance.
Shannon. Oh, I don't know if it's the name. Is it Killzone 3?
It is Killzone 3.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done, Shannon, for taking out this round of What the Wiki. Against
That's
all
nice.
odds.
Nice change.
It is. I'm now
A nice change.
equal with you, James.
Not
It's
quite.
not a hot three-way anymore. Now
So-
just a hot, regular guy-on-guy
I'm just gonna
situation
update
between
this
Kieran and
for
Kieran.
Yui. Wait.
No, Kieran 17.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, you guys can see it. That's even... That's
Oh, yeah.
I can't... This pressure. I just spelled his name wrong. It's
Kieran-
all falling apart.
This is very good for the audio and video
Yeah, I was going to
listeners.
say, if you have a Patreon, we'll upload a screen cap of me editing the scoreboard, and we'll go from there.
It's painful, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's really hurting me. Don't worry. Okay,
All right,
so
come on, James.
yeah,
Let's throw to that outro.
mate. I'm trying to, and let's do we do a recap of the score? I can't remember.
Let's do
No,
it.
we
No.
do that next week.
Can you
You
add
can
me
give
back
it-
to the scoreboard? I've just been appraised.
Wait, okay. I'm gonna do this later.
Looks good.
Anyway, so with that, let us bring an end to this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice, and follow us at PressStartAU and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. This week we've joined by Kieran.
Yeah, you can find me on was it X at HASH_BRAUN.
Are we like dignifying that by calling it X now?
I shan't.
guess.
Yeah. We're also joined by Brodie.
Yeah, you can follow me on Zitter at Brodie_DG. Threads as well. I pop in from time to time. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Threads, but come see us, I
It
guess.
just sounds so enthusiastic. And then finally, by our deserving winner, Shannon.
You can follow me on Exeter at Shannon Brixty and everything else.
And I've been your host, James. You can follow me on Twitter at Jams. So thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, happy gaming.
All right, now
Bye.
fix the scoreboard. Bye.
Yeah, get it right while we're
Bye.
watching.